Oh, hi there. Good morning. What am I doing? I'm just looking around in this pile of pine needles for some apples. Hey, looky there, I got lucky. I found one straight off. You believe that? Doesn't make much sense, does it, to look for apples among pine trees? Something even dumber. Imagine my embarrassment over that. And instead, I decided, no, I'll tell you what, I'll try to tie some apples to the pine tree, and it'll make it look more like an apple tree. Who would do such a thing, right? Maybe a preacher for a sermon illustration, but that's about it. Let's change it up a little bit. Not so much looking for apples among pine needles. Let's talk about maybe watering the yard or watering the garden. It makes sense, doesn't it? But it only makes sense if the hose is hooked up to the spigot. If you don't have it hooked up to the right source, there ain't nothing good going to come out this end, is there? Hmm. A couple of quotes to share. You may have heard some of these before. They're pretty good. One of them is from a Christian author and thinker of a century ago. His name was G.K. Chesterton. He was known especially for his wit. This is the way he put it one time. Christianity has not so much been found tried and wanting, so much as it's been found difficult and untried. Whoa. Yeah, kind of like trying to tie apples onto a pine tree. You just don't do that. You need to do something much more sensible to really try what it means to live after Jesus Christ. Not just make a show of it, hang some good things on your life without really changing on the inside. Another, William Law. He too was a Christian author and thinker of centuries ago. He wrote a book entitled A Serious Call to a Devout and Holy Life. Near the start of the book, he makes this statement. It's hard to read the rest of the book without this statement in mind. If you'll stop here and ask yourself why you're not as pious, that is, as holy and righteous, as the primitive Christians were, your own heart will tell you. It's neither ignorance nor inability on your part, but purely because you never really intended it. Whoa. Law goes straight to the heart of hypocrisy. Again, we're back to trying to make a show of things rather than addressing the real matter. Kind of like not hooking up the hose to the spigot and expecting good things to come out. You know, Jesus was using illustrations one time as he was talking to some of his closest disciples. And he was talking to them about who they really are, who Jesus really expects them to become, real followers of him, authentic followers of him, genuine. And how would they do this? Jesus seems to say two things. He says, pay very close attention to the way you speak. It matters. What you say matters to God and to others and for your own benefit. And the reason you need to pay attention to what you say is because it will reveal who you really are in your heart. Wow. Probably not many of us haven't asked ourselves the question at one time or another in life, or a multitude of times, who am I? And Jesus answers very, very clearly. He says, listen to what you say, and then you'll know who you really are in your heart. If you find that there's work to do, do it. Address your heart, and your words will follow. Jesus put it like this in Luke chapter 6, verse 43 through 45. He didn't use pine trees and apples or garden hose and water as example. He spoke of two different kinds of trees and fruit. A good tree can't produce bad fruit. And a bad tree cannot produce good fruit. You can tell what a tree is like by the fruit it produces. You can't pick figs or grapes from the thorn bushes, no more than you can find apples among pine needles. Good people do good things because of the good in their heart. They're hooked up to the source of good, and so good things come out. Bad people do bad things because of the evil in their hearts. They're not hooked up to good. Nothing good's going to come out of their mouth or their life. Your words show what is in your heart. I'm given great pause. There's no hiding who I really am. What I say reveals who I am. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking the same thing I am. Wait a minute, Dave. I could dress up the way I speak. I could pay very close attention to the way I talk, the way I speak about or to others. I can put a mask on that, a disguise. I can become an actor, or in Jesus' words, a hypocrite. Because you're not addressing the problem. You're just addressing the symptom and the revealer of the problem. The problem is that your heart is bad. Recently, I was talking with someone about my recently deceased father-in-law, and it struck me like never before when I was speaking with him. I never can recall having ever heard my father-in-law sin. That's right, I never heard him sin with his words. I knew the man for over 40 years. It's remarkable. And why is that? Because he was a very good man in his heart. That's why. You see, that's a pretty tall hurdle to clear, Dave. I don't need to just get my words right, but I've got to get my thoughts, my inside spirit right too. Bob White set the hurdle pretty high. That's exactly what he did. He was a fine Christian man. I'm sure that all of us think of those kind of things at times. We're aware of others who we can just tell from the way they talk about others and to others and about anything and everything in general that their heart is very good, that there's good fruit growing, and it's because it comes from a good tree. I'm called by their example, by the remembrance of their example, that I have work to do all the time. I'm reminded when I think of those people's lives that there's a world out there watching us and gauging us, Christians, by our speech. I wonder how many people have been led to Christ because they saw someone really change the way they spoke about people. And they could see that they were becoming a good tree. They had a good heart inside. I'm sure the number is legion. I also have to wonder how many have decided not to pursue Jesus Christ because they've heard the way some of Jesus' people talk. And they thought to themselves, Jesus didn't do them any good. Why should I even bother to try? Food for thought. Good and bad fruit. Good and bad trees. My heart, what will I do with it? If I really want my speech to change, I can't just try to change the way I talk. I have to change who I am inside, my heart. And that's what Jesus is really after here. He's warning the disciples as he's talked to them about not judging and not being hard on people and refusing to forgive others, and as he encourages them to love their enemies. Indeed, he commands them to do so. What he's going to is the heart of the issue. He's saying you have to fundamentally transform on the inside and not just window dress on the outside that you're a follower of mine. There's a lot there to think about, isn't there? Let's think about that the rest of today. To really intend it and try it. Grace and peace be with us all.